What are we doing? Today we are going to be talking about preparing your life for thru hiking.
When you think of all of the things that you have to do to prepare for a thru hike, a lot of people think of the most common ones that are buying gear, thinking through hiking, finding navigation apps, and pretty much how do you adjust to life on the trail. However, there's a whole separate part that kind of gets missed in thru hike preparation, which is something that we actually found to be the most stressful part of getting ready to go on trail. And that is, how do you leave your regular life behind?
So what do we mean by that? Well, number one is quitting your job. Both of us left our jobs on the AT and then also for the PCT. Now, we outright just quit our jobs with the expectation of coming back and finding a new job when we came back. Now, some people may be able to get a leave of absence or a sabbatical from their job.
Typically, from just talking to other hikers, people who go that route, that is a multi-year planning endeavor that happens with your company, with your HR. And so just knowing what options are available to you and thinking through how do you want to navigate income and employment before trail and after trail. Obviously, when you come back off trail, if you've quit your job outright, we did not have jobs lined up waiting for us. So when we finished trail, we knew one of the first things we had to do was find employment. And that went into how we factored and how we saved. It wasn't just saving money for a thru hike, but saving money for at least a month or two after trail to figure out our employment situation.
Yep. But because we quit our jobs outright, it did give us more flexibility in our ending date, that we didn't have a hard date that we had to be back by. Now, the second thing kind of goes along with employment is finding health insurance. Now, depending on your comfortability, you may or may not decide to have health insurance. For both of us, we wanted health insurance while we were backpacking, and we had various different experiences with this. Between having health insurance through our partners and then also finding private health insurance.
It can be hard to know all of your health insurance options. First, if you are under the age of 26, you have the option to get on your parents' health insurance if they have that. So that can be a way depending on your age. If you do have a partner and that is married, or in some states, they will recognize a domestic partnership. Which does not require a marriage document. It is can be pretty easy in some states, in which case you can again get on a partner's health insurance. If you are looking for your own health insurance outright, you do have some options, and that ranges between having full coverage that you might through an employer, something that is a plan regulated by the Affordable Care Act, or you can look for cheaper health insurance options that are more based on what is called catastrophic. And that is the avenue that I pursued for the PCT. It was a very low premium. The deductible was a little bit higher, but pretty much all it was making sure that if something terrible happened, if I had to go to the hospital, if I needed emergency surgery, if I broke a bone, I wasn't going to be bankrupted from hospital costs.
Yep. And depending on what state you're on, they also will offer different subsidized programs too to make the health insurances a little bit cheaper, even if it is a full coverage or catastrophic plan. So there are definitely plenty of options out there for health insurance. Number 3 is deciding on a living situation. Again, we have multiple different experiences between both of our thru hikes and what we decided to do. In some cases, we kept an apartment and our partners lived there and just stayed there for the extent of the trail, and then we came back, they were there. Other times it was figuring out leaving our stuff in a storage unit and then coming back to that after trail and not having rent or any of that kind of stuff at all.
So if you have a mortgage, that's obviously something that's non-negotiable. But if you are apartment living, start thinking about your lease terms and when that lease is up, and if you would like to keep an apartment during the time that you are on trail. On the Appalachian Trail, we both thought ahead, and within the 4 or 5 months before getting on trail, we moved into an apartment together along with both of our partners to allow for us to have a living situation up until trail and then after trail, and then also leaving 2 partners there to help cover the costs of rent and the like. When I went on the PCT, I outright had my lease end before starting the trail. So I was not incurring any lease costs. I just had to find somewhere to leave my vehicle. And that can be finding a friend or a family member who will let you park their car in the driveway, or looking for storage options. This brings us to item number 4, which is thinking about how to reduce your life costs while on trail. And so what do I mean by that? Trail and trail budget is primarily all of the money you're spending on trail. This is really thinking about what is all the money that I spend off trail that I might still be incurring while I'm hiking, but I may not need those services anymore. Rent might be something that's included in that, but this spans way beyond that to all different types of subscriptions or the like.
Yep, so one thing for me particularly is I have a gym membership in my everyday life. I'm not going to be going to the gym when I was on trail. So that was a subscription that I was able to cut out and not have that cost.
Another example is car insurance. While some people might have the option to cancel their car insurance depending on the state, one item, if you have your car in storage or if you know it's not going to be driven, is taking off comprehensive coverage and only having collision. You could save, up to a couple $100 doing that for the duration of your thru hike.
Similarly, think about things that you want to keep paying on trail. So something that was important to me was investing in a 401k independently. And so that was something that I worked into my budget, that I still had money that I was investing into a retirement account, even though I wasn't working. And the last one is physical prep. So as you can imagine, the better shape that you're in, the easier it is going to be going out onto trail, and probably the stronger that you're going to feel.
Sometimes this gets misconstrued though, as you have to practice hiking and practice backpacking specifically. However, as 2 people who are pretty active in our regular life, we exercise consistently, regardless of our thru hikes. We found that physical preparation in any capacity translates over to thru hiking really well. So this is not about having to set aside time to go on hikes specifically for the few months leading up to your thru hike, but working in physical activity into your daily routine as early as you can. We found a really big benefit to this in not just being able to allow us to hike further miles or hike faster, but more that our bodies recovered a lot quicker. Our recovery overnight went really well. We weren't waking up as sore, and also our bodies knew what to expect. We had an idea of what it felt like to be sore versus what an injury felt like, and our bodies were prepared for the caloric increase and uptake, and we did not find massive, huge shifts in our hunger, either drastically increased hunger, or some people swing the opposite and actually find a massive decrease in their hunger. We were able to maintain weight and calorie intake throughout both of our thru hikes.
Yep. And I think also it helps mentally. We were mentally prepared for what heavy activity can be and what that means. Because going out and hiking, for several hours a day is not only physical, but it's mentally challenging. And if you are, prepared in that physical challenge, I think it translates over into being mentally prepared for that as well. Thank you for tuning in to another video. If you want more information about these topics, check out our blog posts and our other YouTube videos where we'll go into more depth about some of the topics we just discussed.
Good luck preparing for your thru hike and happy trails.